Hey everyone, and welcome to our deep dive into some of aviation history's most impactful disasters.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah, we're not just listing off tragedies, though.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
going to really unpack the contributing factors,
Yeah.
the lessons learned and how these events really shaped how we think about safety in the air.
Shaped aviation safety as we know it today.
Exactly. And get ready for some serious aha moments as we explore cases like
Ooh, yeah.
that chilling story of TWA Flight 800.
Oh, yeah. That one's,
And how that exposed fuel tank vulnerability.
right.
The haunting tragedy of Japan Airlines Flight 123,
Oh, that one's,
where just a single maintenance oversight
yeah.
had just catastrophic consequences.
Unbelievable.
And of course, the enduring mystery
This is the one.
of Malaysia Airlines Flight
What
370.
really happened?
What really happened?
We may never know.
Right.
It's so fascinating, though, how these events, while tragic, offer us this, valuable insight into how the aviation industry has adapted and improved its safety measures.
I know, it's like looking through this window into the evolution of safety practices and technology.
Exactly.
So to kick things off, let's rewind the clock.
Okay.
Way back to 1977.
Wow.
And dive into the Tenerife airport disaster.
Oh, this is a tough one.
This event, I think, really changed how pilots and air traffic control communicate forever.
Absolutely.
You have two Boeing 747 colliding on the runway
It's crazy.
in thick fog,
Yeah.
resulting in 583 fatalities.
It's just an unimaginable tragedy.
It's almost unimaginable. What's
Yeah.
crucial to understand here, I think, is the role of miscommunication.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The air traffic controllers and the pilots were really struggling to understand each other in those foggy conditions.
Right.
You also have to factor in the confusion over the takeoff clearance.
Right.
And a runway layout that wasn't ideal.
Yeah.
It was a recipe for disaster.
It really was. Wow. Two massive 747s colliding on a runway.
It's mind-boggling.
It just boggles the mind. This disaster really underscores the critical importance of just crystal clear communication and solid procedures in aviation.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
And the aftermath of Tenerife really emphasized that.
Yeah.
This tragedy led to some significant changes in communication protocols. For example, the phonetic alphabet was standardized to avoid confusion over letters that sound alike.
Oh, that's interesting.
They also implemented ground radar systems at airports worldwide to improve visibility even in bad weather.
Wow.
You wouldn't believe how many airports back then didn't have that technology.
I had no idea. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's a stark reminder that technology can't replace human vigilance
Right.
and those clear communication protocols.
Absolutely.
Speaking of technology and human factors, I think our next stop has to be American Airlines Flight 191.
Oh, yeah.
In 1979.
1979.
This one hits close to home for many.
Yeah.
A DC-10 crashing shortly after takeoff
Yeah.
from Chicago O'Hare,
Chicago O'Hare.
claiming the lives of all 273 people on board.
This disaster really highlights the crucial role of maintenance in aviation safety.
Yeah.
The investigation found that a key factor was the detachment of the left engine.
Right.
They traced this back to an improper maintenance procedure during the aircraft's last service.
Okay.
Essentially, a maintenance team used a forklift to remove the engine and pylon assembly as a single unit,
Oh, wow.
which was not the approved procedure.
Ah, okay.
This shortcut put undue stress on the pylon attachments,
I see.
leading to the eventual failure.
So a seemingly small error
Yeah.
with massive
Any
consequences.
consequences?
It's a chilling reminder that safety relies on every single link in the chain being strong
Oh, yeah.
and reliable.
Absolutely. And the Flight 191 tragedy led to major changes in aircraft maintenance practices.
Okay.
There was increased scrutiny of airline maintenance procedures by regulatory bodies and stricter guidelines on using proper tools and equipment.
Oh, wow.
It also led to a greater focus on training and oversight within the industry.
It's almost unfathomable how one seemingly small misstep
Right.
can have such catastrophic consequences.
Absolutely.
Now let's shift our focus to a story that's really stuck with me for years.
Right.
The heartbreaking tragedy of Japan Airlines Flight 123 in 1985.
This one.
It holds the grim record of being the deadliest single aircraft accident in history.
It's hard to even comprehend.
Yeah, a Boeing 747 SR
Yeah.
carrying 524 people
Wow.
crashed into Mount Takamagahara in Japan with
Whoa.
only 4 survivors.
The sheer scale of this tragedy is difficult to grasp.
It is.
And it all boils down to a failure in the aircraft's rear pressure bulkhead,
Okay.
a critical component that maintains the cabin pressure.
Right.
This failure led to the loss of hydraulic control, making the aircraft practically impossible to fly.
Okay, so what led to this bulkhead failure in the first place?
Right.
was it just a freak occurrence?
Not exactly.
Yeah.
The investigation revealed a series of events and underlying issues. 7 years before the crash, this aircraft had suffered a tailstruck incident during landing.
Oh, wow.
The repairs following that incident, while initially deemed sufficient, ultimately proved to be inadequate.
Oh, no.
There was also a design flaw in the Boeing 747's pressure bulkhead
Oh, really?
that made it susceptible to fatigue cracking.
I see.
This combination of a past incident, incomplete repairs, and a design flaw,
Right.
it all came together to create this devastating outcome.
So it wasn't just one thing,
No.
but a cascade of events and vulnerabilities.
Right.
The impact on the aviation world must have been huge.
It was enormous.
Yeah.
The JAL-123 crash led to sweeping changes in how we approach aircraft maintenance, especially when it comes to the inspection and repair of pressure bulkheads.
Yeah.
You can imagine there was a global reassessment of aircraft design and safety regulations, too.
Right.
It really pushed Boeing and other manufacturers to reevaluate their designs and implement more stringent safety standards.
It just shows how even seemingly minor incidents can have long-lasting and devastating consequences if they're not addressed properly.
Absolutely.
It's a lesson that resonates throughout the aviation industry.
For sure.
Now turning our attention to another major disaster that year, Air India Flight 182.
Oh, yeah.
This event was a stark reminder of the devastating impact terrorism can have on aviation.
Absolutely.
This Boeing 747-200B en route from Toronto to India was destroyed by a bomb mid-flight
Hard to believe.
over the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
All 329 people on board gone.
This act of terror sent shockwaves around the world and revealed some serious vulnerabilities in airport security and intelligence sharing.
I remember this one. It was a huge story. What led to such a horrific security breach?
Right.
How could something like that happen?
Well, the investigation uncovered a complex web of factors.
Okay.
There were intelligence failures. Authorities had received warnings about potential threats, but didn't act decisively enough.
Wow.
Then there were security lapses at the airports. Inadequate baggage screening and a lack of proper passenger profiling allowed a bomb to be smuggled onto the aircraft.
Oh, gosh.
This bombing was attributed to Sikh extremists seeking revenge for the Indian government's actions at the Golden Temple in Amritsar.
It's deeply disturbing how a combination of factors can create an environment where something like this can occur. What were the long-term consequences of this tragedy?
Well, the Air India bombing led to major changes in aviation security protocols worldwide.
Okay.
Think about the enhanced baggage screening we see today.
Right.
Along with more sophisticated passenger profiling techniques.
Wow.
And, of course, increased international intelligence cooperation.
Yeah.
All of these changes stemmed, at least in part, from this horrific event.
It's another painful lesson that forced the aviation industry to confront its vulnerabilities and ultimately pushed for positive change.
Absolutely.
And this brings us to a disaster that I think many remember vividly. I know I do.
Yeah.
TWA Flight 800 in 1996.
Well, yeah.
That Boeing 747-131 exploded in midair shortly after takeoff from New York.
Yeah.
And all 230 people on board perished.
It was a tragedy.
The imagery of that explosion is still so vivid in my mind.
It was a harrowing event that captured global attention and sparked years of investigation.
It did.
The National Transportation Safety Board ultimately determined that the cause was a spark from faulty wiring.
Okay.
This spark ignited flammable fuel-air vapors in the aircraft's center fuel tank, leading to the catastrophic explosion.
It's incredible to think that a seemingly minor electrical issue could have such devastating consequences. What did this tragedy teach the aviation industry?
Right.
What changes came about as a result?
Well, the TWA 800 disaster really brought the issue of fuel tank safety to the forefront.
I see.
Before that, it wasn't really considered a major vulnerability.
Right.
This tragedy spurred a ton of research into fuel tank inerting systems, which are designed to reduce the flammability of fuel vapors by replacing the oxygen in the tank with nitrogen.
Oh, wow.
These systems are now common in modern aircraft, greatly reducing the risk of a similar explosion.
So even amidst these heartbreaking tragedies, there's a constant push for improvement and learning.
Absolutely.
It really highlights the dedication to safety within the aviation industry.
The pursuit of safety in aviation is a continuous journey of learning, adapting, and innovating.
We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
And it's certainly heavy material.
Yeah.
But it's important to understand how these tragedies have shaped the safety protocols we rely on today.
Right.
And there's more to come.
Oh, yeah.
We'll continue our deep dive into these air disasters as we delve into more recent events,
Okay.
including another mid-air collision that you won't believe.
Oh, really?
Stay with us.
Welcome back to your deep dive into air disasters. Let's move on to a chilling scenario that unfolded near Charki Dadri, India.
Oh, yeah.
Back in 1996, a mid-air collision that tragically demonstrates how, even in a world of, advanced technology,
Right.
the risk remains very real.
Yeah. Mid-air collisions are the stuff of nightmares. It's hard to even fathom how something like that can even happen. So, what exactly transpired in this case?
Well, in this instance, you had a Saudi Arabian Airlines Boeing 747 and a Kazakhstan Airlines Ilyushin Il-76.
Oh,
Colliding in midair, the result was the devastating loss of all 349 passengers and crew on both aircraft.
that's absolutely heartbreaking. It makes you wonder what went wrong. How could two aircraft on seemingly planned flight paths end up colliding like that?
Well, the investigation highlighted a series of breakdowns in communication and a lack of crucial technology.
Okay.
There were miscommunications between air traffic control and the pilots, leading to confusion about altitudes.
Right.
The Kazakhstan Airlines flight descended below its assigned altitude while the Saudi Arabian Airlines flight was on its planned ascent path.
Wow.
This airspace also lacked radar coverage, making it incredibly difficult to effectively track and manage the aircraft.
So it sounds like a perfect storm of human error and technological limitations. It's a stark reminder of how crucial those clear communication channels and robust air traffic control systems are for preventing these kinds of disasters. Did this event lead to any changes in how air traffic is managed?
Absolutely. The Charki-Dedri collision was a wake-up call for the aviation industry.
Yeah.
It spurred a global push for improvements in several areas. Communication protocols were standardized and clarified to reduce the risk of misunderstandings.
Oh, wow.
Advanced radar technologies were implemented in more areas to enhance tracking and early detection of potential conflicts.
Okay.
And perhaps most importantly, it accelerated the adoption of collision avoidance systems,
Right.
specifically TCAS, the Traffic Collision Avoidance System.
I've seen that TCS acronym on like flight tracker apps, but I never really understood what it meant.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
TCAS is a game changer when it comes to preventing mid-air collisions.
Okay.
It's a system installed on aircraft that uses radar to detect other aircraft in the vicinity. If it senses a potential conflict, it alerts the pilots and provides guidance for evasive maneuvers.
Oh, wow.
It's like having an extra set of eyes in the sky,
Yeah.
helping pilots avoid these dangerous situations. It's incredible how these tragedies force us to find solutions and improve safety. Now, let's shift gears to an event that profoundly impacted aviation safety and honestly changed the world as we know it:
Okay.
the September 11th attacks.
It's difficult to believe it's been over 2 decades since that horrific day, while the cause of this tragedy was a deliberate act of terrorism.
Right.
It's crucial to examine how it exposed vulnerabilities in aviation security. It makes you wonder, how was it even possible for terrorists to hijack not one, but 4 aircraft and carry out such a devastating plan?
Yeah, the 9/11 attacks forced the world to confront some harsh realities about aviation security.
Right.
Before that day, cockpit doors weren't as fortified as they are now, and there was a different mindset regarding passenger behavior.
Yeah.
Passengers were generally more compliant with authority figures, never imagining that they might need to resist hijackers.
It's strange to think about now, but back then, passengers wouldn't have thought to fight back. It was a different time.
9/11 tragically changed all that.
Yeah.
It ushered in a new era of heightened security in aviation.
Right.
The world witnessed the introduction of much stricter screening procedures at airports, reinforced cockpit doors that are virtually impenetrable,
Right.
and the creation of the Transportation Security Administration, or TSA here in the United States.
The impact was immediate and far-reaching. Suddenly, everyone was hyper-aware of security measures at airports. Increased security checks became the new normal,
Right.
and it's something we all experience every time we fly.
The 9/11 attacks were a turning point in aviation history while immensely tragic.
Yeah.
They served as a stark reminder that while convenience and efficiency are important,
Right.
security must always be the paramount concern, speaking of technological advancements and how they play into safety.
Okay.
Let's move on to Air France Flight 447 in 2009.
Oh, yeah.
This Airbus A330 crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, and the investigation revealed a complex interplay of technical malfunction and human error.
This one always puzzled me. It's not just a simple mechanical failure, right? There was more to it than that.
You're right. Air France 447 presents a fascinating and tragic case study in how a chain of events can lead to catastrophe.
Yeah.
One key factor was the icing over of the aircraft's pitot tubes,
Okay.
which are small sensors that measure airspeed.
Right.
When these tubes iced over, they provided inaccurate readings to the aircraft's computers.
So a technical malfunction set things in motion, but didn't the pilots have ways to deal with such situations?
They did, but this is where the human element comes in.
Okay.
The pilots, while highly trained, had difficulty interpreting the conflicting information they were receiving from the aircraft systems.
Right.
They struggled to recognize and respond to a high-altitude stall, which ultimately led to the crash.
Wow.
What's particularly interesting about this case is that the stall wasn't caused by a lack of engine power or a physical problem with the aircraft itself. It was a purely aerodynamic stall triggered by the aircraft's angle of attack relative to the airflow.
So the pilots inadvertently put the plane into a position where the wings lost lift and they didn't recognize the situation in time to recover?
Exactly.
So it was a combination of technical issues and pilot error that must have been an incredibly complex investigation.
It was the Air France 447 crash highlighted the evolving challenges pilots face in the modern era of aviation.
Right.
Aircraft are becoming increasingly automated, relying on sophisticated computer systems to manage various aspects of flight.
Right.
But when these systems malfunction or provide unexpected data, pilots need to have a deep understanding of the underlying principles of flight to make the right decisions.
I see.
This incident led to a reassessment of pilot training programs, emphasizing the importance of manual flying skills and the ability to quickly diagnose and respond to unexpected situations, even when automated systems are involved.
It's a reminder that technology, while generally enhancing safety, also introduces new challenges. Pilots need to be prepared to take control when automation fails, which requires a different set of skills and a deeper understanding of the aircraft. Now, let's turn to an event that has captivated the world's attention for over a decade. An event shrouded in mystery and speculation.
Okay.
The disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370.
MH370. This remains one of the most perplexing aviation mysteries of all time.
It really is.
It's a case that continues to baffle investigators, aviation experts, and the public alike.
It's almost like something out of a movie, a Boeing 777-200ER, one of those technologically advanced aircraft in the world, just vanishes from radar screens in 2014.
I know.
While en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing with 239 people on board, it's simply mind-boggling. What do we actually know about what happened?
Despite extensive search efforts involving multiple countries and cutting-edge technology, the main wreckage was only discovered years later in the southern Indian Ocean.
Wow.
Even with this discovery, the cause of the disappearance remains a mystery. The lack of a definitive answer has fueled countless theories, ranging from mechanical failure and catastrophic decompression to deliberate pilot action and even more outlandish explanations.
I've heard all sorts of theories, some more plausible than others, but without the flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder, it seems like we may never know for sure what happened.
That's the most frustrating part of this case, the lack of conclusive evidence.
Right.
The flight data recorder, often referred to as the black box,
Right.
could provide valuable insights into the aircraft systems and the pilot's actions leading up to the disappearance.
Right.
Similarly, the cockpit voice recorder could reveal any conversations or sounds within the cockpit that might shed light on what transpired.
Of course.
Without these key pieces of evidence, investigators are left piecing together a puzzle with many missing pieces.
This unresolved mystery really speaks to the vastness of the oceans and the challenges we face in tracking aircraft, especially over remote areas. It's almost eerie to think that in this age of constant connectivity, an aircraft can simply vanish without a trace.
MH370 has prompted a significant push for improved tracking systems for aircraft, particularly over oceans and remote areas.
Okay.
There are ongoing efforts to implement real-time tracking systems that would provide more frequent and detailed location data,
Right.
making it much more difficult for an aircraft to simply disappear from radar.
It's fascinating how this one event has spurred so much innovation in tracking technologies, like trying to close the barn door after the horses bolted. But in this case, the hope is to prevent such a baffling disappearance from ever happening again.
Exactly. While we may never know the definitive answer to the mystery of MH370,
Right.
its legacy will be the advancements in tracking technology that make future flights safer and more transparent. This case also highlights the importance of international cooperation in aviation safety.
Right.
The search efforts involve numerous countries working together, sharing resources and expertise to try to locate the missing aircraft.
It really underscores how aviation safety is a global concern, requiring collaboration and a shared commitment to continuous improvement. As we wrap up our deep dive into these impactful air disasters,
Yeah.
I find myself reflecting on the sheer complexity of aviation safety. It's easy to get caught up in the statistics,
Right.
the numbers,
Yeah.
but what really hits home for me is the human element of these tragedies.
Absolutely. Behind every statistic,
Yeah.
every investigation report, there are real people, families, and communities forever changed by these events.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder of why aviation safety is so paramount.
It is.
I remember after 9/11, I just felt this wave of anxiety.
Yeah.
Every time I stepped foot in an airport, it's amazing how one event
Right.
can shift our entire perspective on something as routine as air travel.
It is. It's a shared human experience.
Yeah.
That feeling of vulnerability.
Yeah.
And while we've discussed some truly harrowing events today,
Yeah.
it's crucial to emphasize that air travel statistically remains one of the safest forms of transportation.
That is reassuring to hear, especially after this deep dive.
Yeah.
But as we've learned, it's a complex system with many points of potential failure, requiring constant vigilance from everyone involved.
Exactly. We can't afford to be complacent.
No.
The pursuit of safer skies involves a continuous loop of learning from the past, refining technologies,
Right.
and adapting to new challenges as they emerge.
And think about how far we've come.
We have.
From standardizing communication protocols after Tenerife to reinforcing cockpit doors
Right.
in the wake of 9/11.
Absolutely.
Each tragedy has forced the aviation industry to evolve and improve.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the dedication of countless individuals
Right.
working tirelessly to make air travel safer.
It really is.
The advancements we've seen are remarkable.
Yeah, they are.
But the journey is far from over. MA370 serves as a stark reminder that there's still so much we don't know.
Absolutely.
So much room for improvement, especially when it comes to tracking technology and understanding that complex interplay
Right.
of human and technological factors. It's complex for sure.
So, as we conclude this deep dive, I want to leave you with a question to ponder.
Okay.
Given all that we've explored, how do you feel about the balance between safety and convenience in air travel? What trade-offs are we personally willing to make? Are we okay with longer security lines?
Right.
If it means enhanced safety, do we accept the inherent risks of flying
Yeah.
to experience the convenience and wonder of air travel?
Those are thought-provoking questions, and there are no easy answers. But by understanding the history of air disasters, by grappling with the complexities of aviation safety, we can engage in more informed conversations about the future of air travel. We can be more conscious travelers, understanding the systems in place and advocating for continuous improvement.
I completely agree. This deep dive is just the beginning. I encourage you to keep exploring these stories, keep asking those tough questions.
Yes.
And keep learning. Remember, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to something as important as aviation safety. Until next time, safe travels, everyone.